This podcast is brought to you by Dr. Astudo. Hmm. It may not have been pleasant getting yelled at so thoroughly, but this orthodontist sure did make our smiles purty. Dr. Astudo, smile straightener, soul crusher. Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother Joshua,
I'm your little brother Andrew.
And I'm your Biggle brother, Noah.
and we are the ones who will try our best to answer your little, middle, and biggle questions today in our podcast of varying quality but unvarying enthusiasm.
Yeah!
Yay!
Oh yeah, all the enthusiasm. Even if Noah has been working 12-hour shifts for multiple weeks at this point, so he is exhausted. But anyway, we're here. We'll do our best. So today we're starting off with, I believe Noah has a little question.
My little question is a very important and possibly controversial one.
Oh.
Okay.
What is the best sauce?
You get to answer it first since you asked, so go for it.
So I would say, personally, I think the best sauce is barbecue sauce because it is, one, delicious and multifaceted. It's much more complex than many of the sauces. Like, a ketchup is good, but it's very simple. Mustard, the same, good but simple. But barbecue sauce can be so many different types of barbecue sauce. You can have so many different styles and levels of spiciness and sweetness and everything, and it's much more cultured and complex than those inferior
Realize you're
sauces.
talking about a sauce that is like 90% sugar, right? Much more cultured and
Well,
complex.
it depends. It depends on the barbecue sauce.
Okay. Well, I feel like I should put in a defense for ketchup because it is, as you say, with barbecue sauce, it comes in many varieties. There is the spicy ketchup, there is the curry ketchup, there is the regular ketchup, there is the unsweetened ketchup, there is the balsamic ketchup. There are so many types of ketchup. There is even carrot ketchup. There is beetroot ketchup. All of these
Yeah,
things.
but you can have all of those things with barbecue sauce too, because ketchup is like an integral part of barbecue sauce, right? Or at least tomato paste is typically an integral part of a barbecue sauce.
And who wants
Yeah.
who wants ketchup in general?
I don't know. I do like ketchup, especially some of the stuff that Joshua sent. That's
Yeah, I
like,
guess both of you guys like ketchup.
Yeah.
it depends on the scenario,
I've tried it a few
but
times at this point, and I just really can't get into it.
I think it might be that you don't really have anything to put ketchup on aside from French fries, which are pretty fine on their own.
yeah,
Okay. So I said ketchup, but also mustard has a lot of different varieties. Like there's jalapeno mustard and there's horseradish mustard and there's spicy brown mustard
that's
and there's
true.
Dijon
That's true. I
mustard.
was I am oversimplifying mustard.
Yeah.
There it is. I still vote for barbecue sauce personally, but ketchup and mustard have, they're strong players in this
Mm.
battle of the sauces.
True best sauce though is soy sauce.
mm,
Oh,
I'm just gonna leave that there. Yeah.
that was the first thing that came to mind for me, actually.
Hmm.
But I now have a better answer.
Okay, what is it?
Well, do you want to argue for soy sauce first?
I mean, there's just nothing like soy sauce. Like with ketchup, there's like marinara sauce, which is relatively similar, and there's like pizza sauce, which is relatively similar. And you can get around not having ketchup. And with barbecue sauce, like you can just have different seasonings, or like there are people who make like do fruit based like mush purees. There's some fancier
yeah.
term for it.
I'm not 100% sure what qualifies something as barbecue sauce because it seems like a pretty big catch-all of
Yeah.
like seasoned semi-tomato based sauces.
Yeah, and there's some that aren't even tomato based. Like Andrew and I, over the summer, we listened to the whole discography of Rhett and Link, and one of their songs is their review of barbecue in the southern United States. And there are ones that are mustard based and mayo based and tomato based.
Oh,
Yeah,
mayo based,
mayo
gross.
base.
Oh,
Ugh.
How could you barbecue sauce?
Yeah, I don't remember which state that's
But yeah,
from, but yeah.
mustard based would be really good. Anyways,
But
Okay,
yeah.
you're totally right though. Soy sauce can take a pretty bland dish and make it rich.
and it's so simple in its
Yeah.
success.
Hmm. Yeah.
But the correct answer is chocolate sauce.
Oh,
Oh man,
you got me there.
Right?
that's hard to argue with.
Yeah. Well,
I
okay.
mean, perhaps less versatile, but it's chocolate sauce.
I mean, if you don't have chocolate sauce, there's like you can't really get around like fudge sauce, you know? Like if you put chocolate chips on your ice cream or your waffles or whatever, it's just like, yeah,
Yeah, and like you selectively choose which bites have the sauce and which don't.
Hmm.
Or the
sauce
chips,
So,
substitute. Yeah.
the sauce
so,
substitute.
so what other sauces are there
Maple
that would be
syrup.
in this? Maples. Oh yeah, there. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What about honey?
Hmm. We're
That
broadening our
counts.
definition of sauce as we
Somewhat.
go.
What about like hollandaise sauce, Worcestershire sauce, A1 sauce?
I don't think I've ever had Worcestershire sauce in my life, knowingly at least.
It's
And
just
if
kind of one
I
of those names that doesn't sound good to
Worcestershire, yeah,
sounds like you're eating a
an
type of
English
rock.
town, or yeah, a type of rock too.
Some would argue milk is cow sauce.
Cow
Mm.
sauce.
We've gone too far. We've diverged too far. It's time for the middle question. I'm bringing us back to home. Andrew, what is the middle question?
Okay, what role
Well,
do you think, or I should say, to what extent do you think society has influenced where you are now versus family? Family and your genuine wants and desires.
wait, so when you say family, do you mean like you personally and family, or do you mean like are we saying family influence and society influence on ourselves?
I should, well, family influence is kind of a societal influence if you look at it
Well,
from far
I
enough
can see
away.
that, but you could split them up if you wanted to.
Let's go, let's go three categories. Family, society, you.
Okay.
Yes?
I feel like
Okay.
you all know my answer pretty well at this point. So, Andrew, you
Well,
go
but
first since you asked, and then Noah, and then
some
I'll top it
introspection
off.
is still nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
Though I feel like I've plumbed the introspection mine pretty heavily in your guys' presence in the past, so I don't want to just keep digging when there's nothing. But go for it.
okay. Well, I think society plays a bigger role than I would immediately think because I grew up in Episcopalian St. Andrews with you guys and Amarillo, Texas, that's like totally fine with Bible thumping die-hard Christianity and stuff. Like, I almost feel like if I had been raised out here, I would have been less okay with going to Pepperdine because there's almost, if you're not one of the die-hard Christians, there's kind of an aversion. And I noticed that talking kind of to you guys about where you guys live, and I really don't feel like I would probably have had such a. I mean, when I found Pepperdine, I was like, yes, that is where I'm going. Wouldn't have had such a straightaway yes for sure if I had not come from a town where like Christianity is the norm. And then I feel like family influenced the, you know, prestigious institution part as well as society. Um, but you know, for me, I didn't feel like mom and dad like really forced my hand. Thanks, brothers, for uh molding them so well.
It
For being the trial
wasn't
by
too hard.
fire.
There, I don't know if it was ever too bad.
But then I feel like the prestigious or the no, I already said that. The location part is kind of my desires. So I have like societal, which is the Christianity part of where I am, the family, which is the sciencey place, and expand your mind place, and then me as the California place.
Was going to ask, do you feel like it has influenced you at all in terms of just like whether or not you would have gone to college in the first place?
I feel like I would have. Well, no, that's not a very fair question. Or not a very fair answer. Because, I mean, who knows what we would all do if society just wasn't there and we could actually do whatever we wanted to do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think you still have some sense of like what your own urges would be. Also, I mean, it's kind of a fool's errand to completely take society out because I don't know. I think without society, if there was like no society whatsoever, we would just kind of be like, living on instinct primates. So I
Yeah.
don't think anyone would
Also,
go to college.
I don't know if you would be able to do everything you wanted to because, I mean, there are a lot of things, at least for me, that I want to do that would not be possible without society. For instance, like us recording this, there was no
Mm,
society. There's no way we could be like watching videos of each other's faces and recording stuff,
yeah.
as we ramble.
It is
Yeah.
very true.
But would we even? I don't know. Would we even know that that was a possibility? I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum. Like getting to do whatever you want. Like
Within
if we didn't
limits.
have,
I
yeah.
think I think maybe the more uh I don't know, answerable question would be like, let's just presume that society has tried to influence. How much have you listened to that in making your decision?
Better
You know?
phrasing.
Yeah. So, in that sense, how much do you think you have listened to society? How much has it been you listening to society that has led you to college, and how much has it been?
Me first, still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, feel like I've probably listened to society much more than I would admit by default.
Okay.
Yeah, I was looking for a further explanation, but it didn't come.
That's okay. That's a reasonable answer. Just more influence than you would think off the top of your head.
Yup. Well, yeah, I feel like it is always. It's impossible to have like 5 minutes not influenced by society somehow, to an extent. Or, taking some norm in society and applying it to your life. Even if you're like alone going to the bathroom, it's like, do I sit down and pee or do I stand and pee?
Do you think that's part of why you
Have
enjoy
have we
like
had that as a little question, by the way?
we've definitely talked about sits plinking, but that was me ranting about how I think it's terrible that uh, some men like mandate sitting down to urinate because it takes so much more water. That was the conversation we
Oh
had.
yeah, we did talk about this. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
I was like, this is an important conversation for us
For
to
yeah.
have.
sure.
Yeah,
Back to the topic at hand, though. So Andrew, do you think that
yeah.
that's
Sorry.
why you enjoy like going out and adventuring places in kind of in the wild so much is like getting away from the societal influences, or is that totally separate?
No, I think you're probably right. That's, yeah, that is like one of the few places where you really, as long as you're not with someone or on a busy trail, you really kind of can. But even then, it's like, stay on the trails is a societal norm.
Yeah, and there's always in the back of your head, it's like I'm doing this a little bit so that I can tell people about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
which
you
I
could
don't know.
really get yourself into a mindset of like, oh, I'm just doing this for myself.
Yeah, actually, there was good example of that. There's some guy. He's like a really good climber and has done all of these huge mountains and peaks and stuff and gone up ways that other people haven't done before. One of those like solo explorer alpinists,
Hmm.
and he like finally a couple people were trying to do like documentary of some of the stuff he was doing, and he just like passively mentioned some of the things that he had done since then that would have been really cool things for everyone to know about, and he just kind of did them just to do them. And then they gave him a cell phone for the first time in like his life. He got a cell phone. This was not many years ago, only a few years ago, and they're like, just call us and like tell us what you're doing, like record some of the things that you do, take some pictures. Like, okay, cool. And then he like dropped the phone in a river like 2 days in and was like, well, and just like went on the rest of the adventure anyways, and came back. It's like, yeah, sorry, I didn't record any of it. It was
Oops.
really fun though. Like I feel like that's an example of someone who really like is legitimately just does not care what anyone else thinks about it, isn't doing it for anyone else at all. Is just going out to experience the wilderness.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are plenty of examples like that of people that do that. It's just that, we don't hear about them often
Hmm.
because I mean, why would we?
Yeah. Well, what's your answer, Noah? How much of your life situation is society and family and self?
I feel like, especially with our childhoods, family is a pretty strong one because we didn't do a whole lot of we didn't have like a big group of neighborhood kids that we hung out with. 'Cause there wasn't really a big group of neighborhood kids, and also you guys were awesome, and so there wasn't a need to like hunt that down.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I think family has been a pretty large one, especially considering all the development that happens from like age 0 to like age 20 or so. Because I mean, we all just kind of hung out together all the time, or did school. But yeah, I think development wise, probably family. Now, I'd say it's a combo of the two. I'd say it's much more evenly split. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely like Andrew said. There's probably more societal influence than you ever realize, right?
Yeah.
But
And it's hard to differentiate between familial and societal when you get to stuff like norms.
yeah, also it's sometimes hard to differentiate with societal stuff if you do something that is not the normal societal thing. Is it because you're not listening to the effect that society has, or is it because it's a little bit fun to do the thing that is not societally normal?
Yeah. Uh-oh,
Yeah.
car going by.
That's fine. I'm sure I could squeeze that out of the
Okay.
audio. But
Yeah, there's a siren going off in the background somewhere too over
oh,
here.
great. Wonderful.
But
This will be
anyways,
a sonic wonderland for our listeners. Anyway, so I actually think that it's relatively easy to distinguish the society and family in some regards. Like, I feel like family definitely, like, they desperately want certain things from at least me. But, like, I feel like that's something that happens to pretty much everyone, where they're like, wow, I really feel like my parents or my siblings or grandparents or whatever like want me to do this. Society, I don't feel like there's much of a want sensation. Like when if I think about doing something that would go against like societal norms, I don't think about like I'm going to disappoint somebody. I just think like, you know, that's considered wrong, but it's not like I wouldn't feel guilt from that. I would feel just kind of like, eh, I did something wrong, or I swam upstream when I should have gone down. And I feel like what I get from that is more just like a sense of there's a little bit of inertia that goes with it, or even just a little bit of caution that you have in doing it. So it's more on the front end that you feel that. Whereas for family, it's like on the back end. Like I'm doing this thing and it can be really exciting, and then you go into it and it's maybe easy to get into it, but then after you have done the thing that is not familially acceptable, it's like, ooh, now I have to kind of pay for that, pay for the repercussions, just like in rebuilding the relationship that was maybe damaged by doing something that was not familially acceptable. So
what is not familiarly acceptable?
Uh, getting my ear pierced was one thing, definitely, and that was definitely
Not
something I paid for
familiarly
on the back
acceptable?
end. Oh yeah,
Didn't didn't someone get their ear pierced with you?
mom did.
Mom.
I
Yeah.
did not tell anyone that I was going to get my ear pierced with mom when she got it pierced. It was that so we went to get it done at Claire's where you get all your good piercings done. And they were like, "So you only want one piercing?" And she was like, "Yeah, just one ear piercing." And the lady was like, "Well, you have to pay for two." And I was like, "This is my chance." And I said, I'll take it. And so mom
That's
kind of looked at me and
awesome.
she was like, okay. And dad looked at me and he was like, who are you?
Dad thought it was cool. He got you a bunch of earrings and stuff.
Months, months after Andrew was there, Andrew can maybe
Yeah.
attest.
It
Yeah.
and I also, I am ashamed to say, was kind of taken aback
Like,
Mm.
in my
well,
closed-minded little brother days.
I mean, it's different to be taken aback and to be like ashamed, you know? Like
Mm.
if, if you went out and were just like, "Hey, I'm going to get a face tattoo today," or just like showed up when you're like, I would be a little surprised, but I wouldn't be like ashamed of you. I'd just be like, this will take a little bit of getting used to, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
don't know.
But I'm not saying that was necessarily the case there, but
I don't think Dad was at any point ashamed. I think it was just this is not what I was expecting.
In either
yeah.
case, though,
So
there definitely it was still just like the guilt on the back end sort of concept. Is what is more of what I'm getting at. Um,
yeah, I feel like it shouldn't just be guilt. I feel like it. I like the on the back end thing though, because like the guilt is definitely a part of it, and probably like you know you definitely see with other families too, a lot more of that sometimes. Like with if there's one person like a parent or a grandparent or whatever that's like the very controlling member of the family, and kind of like makes people feel bad if they do things that are not in line. Um, but like even just with like normal situations, I can totally see the guilt one, but it could also be like the other things too, like feeling ostracized from your family unit or further accepted by your family unit, or like instead of guilt, like the complete opposite of it, like, oh yes, like did a good thing. Like you graduate and like, your parents or your uncle or your aunt or whatever is there and it's like, oh yes, I have done a good thing,
mm,
instead of just the like, oh, I have this piece of paper and I have graduated and society tells me this was a logical decision.
yeah,
I like the concept, and I think you can broaden it out to like everything.
mm, yeah.
But I don't know. What do you
And
think?
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I guess I don't know. I'm just thinking of the negative because it was framed. The question was kind of negatively framed. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But just like, are you being a sheeple or are you being a free willy, so to speak? Um,
Well, let's
but
think of it like, what if you think of it from a positive way? Like, get the good influence. Like, what does influence you more? Or would it be exactly the same? Like, when you make a good decision, like an objectively good decision, is it more like, developing with your family, or is it more the society that you're currently in?
yeah, yeah. Are you a family man or are you a society, not slave, society builder? I don't know. There's no good term for that. There's no equivalent.
Society guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Human.
Anyway, uh so as far as like the on the forend thing for society, like if you want to join a nudist colony, like you have to really go out of your way to find a nudist colony and like find a way to be your best nudist self. But then once you're there, it's like, okay, I'm here. It's all the forework. Anyway, that is just the smaller second half to the point I was trying to make of the before and the after for society versus family. That's how I tell the difference. Anyway, for my actual answer, I feel like it has been 48%, no, 38% society, 60% family, 2% me. Mostly, though, I've come to realize I didn't listen much to myself, mostly because I wasn't really the, saying much to myself, so to speak. I wasn't really having those meaningful internal conversations that I really should have been having as a high school or and college student. Maybe because I was just a little stressed at that point in my life by
Yeah.
many things, many various things, people who shall go unnamed. But at the same time, also it may have just been because I was scared of what those conversations would end up leading me to, and the societal and familial repercussions, mostly familial, of the answers that I would get and the answers that I would give myself. So I just kind of let myself drift, so to speak, in retrospect, I think. And because, if as long as you're doing that, you're at least not disappointing anyone aside from yourself. in the future. And future self, he takes all sorts of problems. Um,
He
yeah,
what's all
there's
sorts
my
of
answer.
problems?
He can take all sorts of problems.
Oh,
Yeah, like you just load everything on him. Future self. Everybody hates that guy, apparently. Anyway, there's my answer. Now that I've sufficiently brought the mood down, I'll take us to the big question, which
you did not
is,
bring the mood down.
well, okay. So this big old question is actually slightly optimistic. Um, it's how will you know when you have made it, in air quotes? Because
Oh man.
this is something that like a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people that I'm interested in, like authors and stuff, talk about, where they're like, I was just kind of grinding and grinding and grinding, and then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I've reached all these goals that I had for myself, and I feel so empty and unfulfilled. So I think that like,
Optimistic.
well, yeah, because if in the deciding beforehand of when you will have made it, then you can get there and be like, yes, I have made it. And it's not just like an arbitrary goal. It's like the goal that you had been having. And I don't know, I feel like in noting the goal beforehand, you get to relish it, relish its completion significantly more.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the confirmation, the affirmation. I needed that. So I will know that I have made it when, or at least this is what I think, when I have like legitimately published a book that gets sold places where books are sold, not like self-published on Amazon, which is anyone could do with $300. But like publish. I don't think I think that I will consider myself as having made it just when it's there and like a copy is sold to someone that I don't know. I and then like if I get 10,000 copies sold or like 100,000 copies sold, if I am a New York Times bestseller and go on like late night with Conan O'Brien or whatever, that will just be the gravy, so to speak. That will be the barbecue sauce. That will be the chocolate
Yes.
syrup and everything. But like the goal itself, just getting published. That's when I will have made it. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Nice.
And then everything else is just kind of secondary goals. So yeah,
Yeah.
like doctoring and stuff. What about you guys? When do you think you will have made it? Noah, is it going to be like when you have gotten your dream job in Fort Worth? This is kind of what made me think about it actually, less so my own um goals and more like thinking about you and your direction where you're headed.
I mean, I feel like your answer is probably going to be a lot better than mine because I have thought about this before, and I think it's going to be hard for me to find a time when I feel like I've made it because I am constantly putting more things on my like life agenda, you know?
Mhm.
Like getting into PA school. Like that was a big one. But then, like, as that's happening, it's like, well, going to go work somewhere. And, I want to get and convert a large school bus into an adventure mobile. and, like, you know, just do, I don't know. I feel like, almost feel like I should write down or document goals a little more like you're talking about so that when I reach them it's like yes I can look back instead of every time that I run out of things to do it's like oh well like
Yeah.
what do I do now
Yeah. Climbing a
you know
mountain instead of sprinting up sand dunes. Yeah.
yeah I don't know on the flip side I try and also think of it as I've already made it as I'm just you know, enjoying the things that I do. And I have a fun family to hang out with and good friends and things that are fun to do. And especially watching, many people croak at the end of their lives or, much earlier than they expected with much frequency. Sometimes it's like, man, maybe it's good to set those long-term goals, but like maybe it's also good to just be content to try and not just to just force yourself to be content, but to try and be like, like reach for the stars, but also like enjoy everything along the way. Because if you're constantly aiming for that goal of like reaching 70 years old and buying a yacht or whatever. Like, that's not necessarily going to happen for a million different reasons. And if you're miserable the whole time, or you know, selling off all of your happiness now for some distant future, then you don't get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily better or worse. And I think that I absolutely should. Well, I should just get a planner or something. But I should like write down, goals and like achievements that I want to achieve. I think that's probably something that should also happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it couldn't hurt. I don't know, after hearing what you were talking about though, like I think there are multiple ways this could go. One is like you have already made it because you have relationships that are like healthy, long term, have, romantic and otherwise, like with you and your college friends, like those have those are relationships that have proven to survive like the transition away from college. And
Yeah.
that is
Hey, transition away from childhood. I mean, we're
Wow.
yes.
still children, but
Yes.
we made it.
Yeah. So I mean I think that is definitely a you have made it sort of that is you have made it worthy at least. And then but also you could say like when I finally get that school bus refurbished because that will indicate like that requires as prerequisites like having a stable money making job. And well, I mean, if you do it the way in the semi reasonable way that I presume you're going to do it, like you're not just going to take it out on student loans. uh and
No, that would
also
be foolish.
yeah. And also like, having that indicates that you have people that you want to go see and or places that you can now go see. So that's like a having made it
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I,
Yeah.
I like that arbitrary goal as a having made it. I think that would be
Yeah.
also it is. I don't know if arbitrary is the right word. That's actually pretty. I like the logic behind that.
Great.
But
Andrew, I
cool.
feel
That's
like
my goal to drive. Like I I want to like finish the bus and turn on Vango bus is coming and drive off into the sunset.
That seems like a
yes.
pretty made it moment, especially
Yeah,
for
with
you.
with with my family and friends in tow,
Yep.
Mm.
and yep,
Convoy.
yeah.
Okay, Andrew, I feel like we've been boring you to death with this conversation of us old
No, you have
men
not.
talking about when we're gonna we'll have made it. So yeah, when is your made it moment?
Much less clear what direction it would even be in. I mean, not that it's a singular direction. I could go multiple ways. But if I want to be an astronaut, I guess my made it moment is when I am in space. But
Yeah.
if I want to be a doctor, I guess my made it moment is when I am a doctor. But I mean, yeah, I feel like for my paths, for my possible paths as they appear to me now, there's not really a fun, ooh, look at this, like, subsidiary thing that proves that I made it. Not that there won't be those things for me. I just don't really know what they are right now.
Well,
See,
heck, I definitely
okay.
wouldn't have known in college.
With your, I don't know, your situation, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was considering possible made it moments is like getting married or something, because that is something that I would love to do. It, like something that I cannot imagine not doing in my life and, dying and feeling fulfilled. Um, Not to make it heavy again, but yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that could be a made it moment. That is probably like, if I had to choose a personal made it moment, it would be that. Or like seeing one of my adopted kids get through college. That would be a made it moment.
Well,
Um,
I thought about that, but those feel more like made it on an entirely different skill tree than I guess I assumed we were talking about. Like, yes, getting married is like, wow, I made it on the romance and relationship skill tree part of your life, you know?
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
different skill trees. Skill trees is such a great way to look at life.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know though. I mean, Uh, I think if you wanted to be like super vague and you still wanted a professional skill tree made at moment, you could just say like getting a job in the thing that you want. Like just getting a job. I feel like that's not really viable for, I don't know, me at this point because like getting into medical school was kind of like getting a job, you know? Because it pretty much
Yeah,
like it's not paying at this point, but it's like on the track, on the one-way track to that job eventually, you know?
yeah. And residency does pay eventually, so that
Yeah.
is technically a job.
Yeah.
So
So so I don't know. But if you have any other made it moments, it could be like, finally finishing first in a round of Fall Guys or
that would
yeah.
be that's a pretty good made it moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Or I don't know, doing like off-roading the Moab thing, that crazy thing in Moab that's like a 60-degree incline or whatever.
But it's related to career because it's like, wow, do I have $50,000 to spend on a fancy off-road vehicle?
Well, see, then that's great because then it doesn't matter what your career is, just that it is a stable, well-paying job. And then if it's still something that you really want to do,
Yeah.
then you know you have made it.
Yeah. Again, with my case though, it being very far away, having a well-paying job does not necessarily I will feel I have made it.
Mm, okay. Well, if you want to like shoot for a short term made it, that's fine too. That is
Uh,
not like the made it. Or if you don't want to, that's also okay.
Graduate college.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. For a long time, my made it goal was survive high school and get to listen to the Rhett and Link graduation song as I drove away from my high school graduation, which I did, and it felt awesome.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
bet
That is
you were
so.
awesome.
saying,
I've realized that our made it moments typically have a specific song that we're playing as we, as we make it.
mm, yeah,
Jenga bus, graduation. Yeah.
from man, I don't know what mine would be
Well,
for
no.
publishing a book.
Oh,
Well,
publishing a
yours was
book.
the graduation song, but yeah, for now,
Yeah,
Have you
publishing a
ever
book
heard
what
the
though.
was that?
song Sensitive Artist?
No, who's that by?
I think his name is King Missile. I'll send it to you.
That sounds like a Nintendo character. King Missile.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
Mm-hmm.
something, yeah, something out of a
Yeah,
Mario game.
Side note, I discovered an artist named King K. Rule, spelled Krule,
nice.
but he just has, I mean, some of his songs are good, but he just has this horribly profane music, and somebody added it to our organic chemistry lab playlist. And so it's like
Nice.
a
Nice.
little uncomfortable to listen to Professor.
It was probably him that added it.
Anyway, do you guys have any last thoughts?
I am sweating profusely in my warm car.
Okay, sorry. I was
Nice.
wondering why you started like you've been looking like less and less interested in the conversation the longer we go on. Like you really want it to be over. And so I've
Also,
I've been wondering like what it was. If you
more
just
and
like were
more
not caffeinated enough, but
glossy.
mm.
Yeah, his face is a little shiny.
I mean I don't know. From my end, you've got like 4 pixels on your screen. So
Really?
yeah.
Do I look pretty bad?
Yeah, yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
is
you
my
look
image
great.
quality pretty bad?
You always look great, Andrew. You look great.
I
Don't
know.
let anyone ever
Yep.
tell you different. Yeah. Anyway, we'll end it here then so that you can stop sweating. This
Thanks.
podcast is created by three of us, written by none of us, and edited and produced by me, Joshua. Hopefully, it's also listened to and recorded. Listened to and recorded by you. Listened to and enjoyed by you.
That's piracy.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
which we are not
but
against here.
no, if they record it, that's like reverse piracy. That's them giving us something to make, like, well, not money. Definitely not money. Wow. Okay. We're back to depressing. So join us next time as we unravel more of this, more of the world's big questions, or maybe just get tangled up in them. We'll see how things go when we get there. Oh man, I shouldn't have started doing this off of memory. If you have
I was
any
impressed.
questions, suggestions, or ideas on how we can make this show better, email us at littlemiddlebigle@outlook.com. Shout into the void, please.
We're
And
lonely. Talk
yeah,
to us.
yeah. And love, thanks, and T-Rex hugs from all of us. We couldn't have done this without you. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Go take a shower, Andrew.